Anything you might regret later? It's a pretty funny way to meet, talking about conspiracies.
How can you not nowadays?
Conspiracies are mainstream now.
Sure are. All around us.
Who'd have thunk?
Keeps us busy.
Yeah, I heard Facebook's removed like 800 QAnon groups off the site.
Yeah, I was reading that yesterday.
So my little brother's nickname is Q, and all of his accounts were taken down.
Oh, wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he is like all of his posts are either he's into photography and music, so it's either concerts or it's some cool photo he's taken, and then he's always just spreading the love around. There's nothing that would ever in years give anyone the idea that he is into any kind of political or conspiracy or any kind of conversation whatsoever, and he got removed.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, that sucks.
Yeah, I feel bad for him. He had in his industries, in the music industry, your social persona is how you brand yourself.
Yeah.
Can you dispute it or try to fight it somehow with him?
It just happened to him this morning, California time, so it's pretty fresh.
So does he? I guess that's his username. He uses
it's Q and his last name. That's it.
Sounds like a glitch in the algorithm.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, that never happens.
Hopefully they can reinstate whatever, and he doesn't lose like photos and all that stuff, especially being a photographer.
I would think so. I doubt they ever delete anything.
Yeah, probably right.
Another conspiracy in itself.
I don't know if you guys have ever driven up near Loudoun County, Virginia, up Route 7, going towards Leesburg. There's a ton of huge data warehouses up there. I mean, just one after the next after the next. And I don't know if it's government or what all it is up there, but it's almost like seeing like an Amazon fulfillment center next to another one, and they're just full of servers.
I'm trying to think what that area is called. There's
we're going 5 seconds. We'll have our faces up here.
Okay.
Oh man, it might come to me a little later. And within that area, there's a bunch of huge houses. I mean, super rich people, man. And of course, being right outside of Leesburg and Dulles area, I mean, there's so much money in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lot of those clients at our Porsche dealership in Annapolis.
It makes sense. Yeah, we're not too far from each other.
Yeah. They live down on by the shore or around DC or.
Well, Refresh Friday has started, folks. So
all right.
It's Friday already.
We promised videos, but I think we're talking conspiracies and rich neighborhoods around DC. So we've got some special guests today who we brought on specifically because almost every Refresh Friday since COVID quarantines back in March, video has come up. In every show, it's been either a question or somebody in the audience is pushing our guest to answer something about video. So here we are. It's video time. And who better to do that than Nick Cybela, who's no stranger to Refresh Friday. Although it has been a little while.
It has been, yeah. Thanks for hosting again.
Glad you could be on. Yeah. And Erick Kirks from the Johnson Automotive Group, who we all know as the group that brought us the Badger and Wiggle, Wiggle, Wiggle. So another great one here. And
Well,
yeah, well, actually, Eric, can we start with you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
yeah, absolutely. I've been around automotive for about 25 years. I started in college, so I just aged myself to everyone watching. So this was pre-internet days. So I got involved or saw the digital influence coming into the industry and got involved with the startup side of automotive in the late 90s. I worked with some different startups for several years. Came kind of morphed into a marketing agency that was my attempt to leave the car business because I intentionally chose to work with any kind of business other than car dealers. Did that for about 6 years and realized that I really missed it. And so I came back to the retail side of automotive and have been with Johnson Automotive as marketing director here for 6 years and love it. Dream job.
What made you jump into the dealer side?
You know, we had moved back to Raleigh. We had been on the West Coast for several years doing the startup thing. And when I came back over here and started my agency, I started thinking about, really with my family situation with children, I didn't want to be back on the road a whole lot and be traveling all over the East Coast. And so I decided to look around and see what was available in retail. And there were a few groups here in the area that I've always, I grew up here in Raleigh, actually. So I knew the reputation of these groups around here. And I got a call from someone in Johnson and we started talking and it was the perfect fit at the perfect time. So it's been great.
That's great. Now, Johnson, you guys have dealerships in, you say Raleigh, North Carolina. You've got some in Maryland too, or Virginia, and is there still some in Florida?
Yeah, so we have several here around the Triangle area, Raleigh, Cary, Durham area. Then we have a Porsche dealership in Annapolis that is actually currently under reconstruction. We're building a standalone service center and redoing the showroom. And that literally started the beginning of this month. And then we have a Honda dealership down in Florida. So we're spread out a little bit. We've got some more stores coming online in the near future. Some of them will be around here and some of them won't. So that'll be a fun journey for us all.
Do you get to visit those dealerships?
Yeah, we do. We have an executive team that travels around to the different stores fairly regularly. Obviously, lately, have not been traveling around too much to any of the stores other than the ones locally. And even then, because my team is not, customer facing within the stores, so we're still kind of a hybrid, rotate through our office, but we don't really hold office hours for the stores. But we're doing some work in the office, and then also we all have home offices set up for my team.
How's that been working out?
Phenomenally.
Really?
And, we use project management systems, and a lot of us, we have in-house videography, in-house graphic design, in-house, our social team is always out and about, trying to keep things interesting. So I'm really the only person in the team that really needs to be stuck to the desk as much as I am. And so we're already mobile, and our department is located in our flagship dealership, which is Johnson Lexus of Raleigh. And, but we have 9 other stores. So we're already remote for most of our company. So being remote for one more location is like nothing to us.
Yeah.
And Nick.
Well, next time you're in the Annapolis area, you'll have to give me a shout. I'm not too far from there.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you guys can go meet up at your Denny's.
No.
The best Denny's in the world is in Jeff's backyard. It's Jerry Springer in every booth. It's amazing.
It definitely made an impression on you.
Oh, yes. I can't wait to go back.
It's waiting for you.
Yeah, you got to go at 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah, that's when it's really interesting.
For sure.
And Nick.
So you, go ahead.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been in auto for just over 12 years now. Worked across kind of all 3 tiers, with Ford on the internet process side, with some large agencies and the Google Premier Partner, and then leading digital for AMSI, which is a big, very secretive group in Florida.
Yeah, you were there for quite a while, right?
I was there for a while. Yeah, that was kind of part of, similar to what Eric has done over there, of bringing a lot in-house, then really maximizing and understanding what's happening online and tying it to offline transactions, and then, of course, keeping that all aligned across many, many stores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So, and then of course, now I'm leading FlowFound, and we've been focused very much on video and virtual reality for almost 4.5 years now, just over 5.5 years old at this point. So found some really interesting insights, both pre-pandemic as well as especially now as things are emerging. And I'm really excited to share a lot of those best practices, case studies today.
For sure. Now, when you got started, you weren't so focused on the VR portion of video, right? It was more of an agency?
Yeah, the original intent was actually to help dealer groups bring their marketing in-house and maximize the important elements, kind of simplify what they're looking for. But that evolved as the market did into just how can we serve the greatest need right now, which has kind of become video today. And in the earlier days was kind of driven by them spending a lot of money on digital, which they may not have understood as well, but not necessarily seeing a better result, or at least an easily understood result from it.
Mm-hmm. And then you just got into video and VR. What's your passion around VR?
I think VR is really cool, but at the end of the day, everyone has a phone, so the greatest value is going to come from right on the phone, no downloads, no special requirements. So that's what I would say for that. Definitely making it universal, making it plug and play, making it simple for a dealer to use, and building out the right content that can still be customized and feel like it reflects the experience you would get in the store in a time when customers might be more hesitant to actually come in.
Have you been able to track an uptick in people utilizing video, and especially VR?
Yeah. This 360-degree video, which is also branded as VR to us today, we've seen almost 4 times. I've actually got some different slides in terms of the data as we get into best practices, but there's been huge spikes in terms of utilization. And I think even more importantly, there's some really good insights around what dealers have seen as they start to talk about having it, which is one of those things that they're kind of looking for, is what do I talk about in a way that's going to get customers in amidst different challenges, of course, that Johnson and others are very, very familiar with, like inventory.
Yeah. Well, it's always, it's always difficult to separate yourself from the competition. So if you can have something like that, that's not the typical family-owned, huge inventory message, something different, it can really resonate with the consumer.
Yeah, I think you're right. For a lot of dealers, the compressing margin is a big problem, and they continue to spend more in this complex digital marketing, but they're really spending more about price and availability. That offers and inventory works, but it's one message that continues to not necessarily help your margin in any way. Whereas today we have the opportunity to provide an experience that might not hurt margin, but would be more likely to get someone in where they're willing to pay for that convenience or their perception of safety.
For sure. Eric, how has video played a role at your dealerships, and especially maybe prior to the pandemic? What type of changes are you seeing? And just overall, how has video had, made an impact for your dealerships?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think back when we first, when Nick and I first were introduced to each other through a mutual contact in the industry, I was seeking a differentiator. Like you said earlier, anything you can do to differentiate yourself from everyone else's stale car dealery messaging. And so I'm always looking for new technology that is customer facing, that will help increase conversion or help answer any of those questions that they may not get from our websites. I mean, for us, in my opinion, and I'm just going to say this to out loud, and I have a great relationship with dealer.com, who runs all of my sites, but I hate every single franchise dealer website that exists today and that has ever existed. And if I was to take the most beautiful website you could imagine and correlate that to a building, it would be a sketchy buy here, pay here rock lot with blue gorillas and flags flying everywhere from 1983. Our websites are terrible. There's 932 calls to action. And so it's really confusing if you can step back for a minute and actually put yourself in the shoes of a real consumer and not one of us guys who look at things through the industry lens. And that's the problem, is all the manufacturers and dealers and everyone alike is all looking at it through the lens of how can we barf all of this information all over everyone while we've got them on this web page, and it doesn't align with the customer journey and what they're trying to accomplish, because we're trying to treat everyone like they're going down the same path, and there's different people that are going to want to engage with content and information in different ways. For us, we felt like what Nick provided with FlowFound was completely different than static pictures, than the again, I'm going to use the year 1983 again, but the walk around, the third party photo companies that do the walk around videos with the vent explosion that creates the voiceover about my 2019 ES350 that has power steering and power door locks and ABS brakes and everything every car that's been built in the last 25 years has on it. So the whole vent explosion thing, has been a pain in my side since it started in 98 or whenever it started. And it's never gotten any better. It's exactly the same as it was back then.
So shout out to Sister Technologies.
It's hard to believe we still have those generic videos on our dealership websites, huh?
For us, we were doing those for $1 extra per unit because it feeds to our YouTube channel. And then I was outsourcing someone to rewrite the descriptions on each video because the feed into our YouTube channel wasn't SEO optimized. And I did that for several years, and I stopped about 4 months ago because even having that presence on YouTube, I realized that most of the view throughs came from our website itself and not from YouTube. And I still couldn't stand looking at them anymore. I just couldn't do it. So we shut it off. The test drive, the neat thing about FlowFound is we started on the 2018 model and for new cars. And what I didn't realize, and I'm sure Nick told me, I wasn't listening, but I didn't know that those videos were going to stick. So now my CPO 2018 RX and Accord or whatever else we have, it has those videos automatically attached to them on our website for used inventory. So that's like an added bonus for us. But what we found really was that immediately, we started getting some recognition and some customer feedback about these videos and how neat they were. And they were answering the kinds of questions that you simply can't describe how lane keep assist works reading, 3 bullet points when you're looking at 27 calls to action on a page. But the videos are very casual and clearly realistic way to present that content, and we saw a really uptick in people that engage with those videos that end up engaging with us and ultimately buying a car, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I was on your website yesterday. I was taking notes of all the different services that you have and quite a few call to actions. It's no doubt our industry, especially on the dealership side, becomes so just lead driven. The VDP is nothing more than one big form to capture the customer's information. But of course, I was on there and on your VDPs, and you've got the videos, you've got the walk around. So you definitely have a ton of content on there for the consumer.
Yeah, it's too much, really. I mean, we one exercise that we do occasionally is we actually print out a VDP. And I think the last time I did it, it was 13 pages, and we lay them out across the floor, and just look at it, and we're like, really? What is this supposed to do? And so we're, and in the meantime, I'm always fighting, because I get into the technical SEO weeds all the time, and our page speed is terrible according to most page speed tests. And, it's always the 13 different scripts we have on the site that run all these widgets, none of which were meant to work together. They're all pointing fingers at each other as to why the site is slowing the site down. And so that's a huge frustration for me that I can't achieve the performance that I think we should have, especially on the mobile side, because I have to Frankenstein my website with all of these different ancillary services to try to provide that journey as best as we can with what we have to work with.
And do you have all those plugins and such? Is that something that it's because you want to be able to have all this content for the consumer, or is it, I know a lot of times the manufacturer, once you use different products and different services, what's preventing you from maybe cutting back on some of those things?
A lot of times it's to me, it's the bare bones things that we need. Like, you're going to have some tracking codes, you're going to have some Facebook codes, you're going to have, your chat, your trade tool, and it goes on and on. And so it's like, your digital retailing piece, like it just layers on and on and on, all these different third parties, and none of them are really meant to work with each other. And that's the big conundrum, is when you look at the cascade effect of these sites of these pages loading, where these bottlenecks are, or where one thing will not load until the thing before it finishes loading, and getting them to all write their programs and their scripts to work with each other is impossible. I've tried; it's impossible.
Well, some website CMSs handle it better than others.
Yep.
Think we'll ever get to a time where we don't have to have all those plugins?
No.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and I'm not trying to endorse anyone right now, but we're Team Velocity has built a website that provides a lot of the integrations built into it, and we're getting ready to launch that at our Honda store because they've been approved by Honda, just to see, because I was really impressed with some of the functionality of the site, but mostly the fact that they understand exactly what I said, that there's a million companies in every silo of chat, trade tool, everything else. And if they can kind of build their own that doesn't require these third-party scripts to be added on, it'll greatly improve the customer experience. And that's what I worry about, is that when we have seen over the years the mobile engagement go way up versus desktop, meanwhile everyone in the store is always looking at a desktop, so they think that way. We build and design and market mobile first, and have for a few years. But the biggest problem is staring at your phone, waiting for 27 scripts to load, and you go away. You go somewhere else.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I was on the phone last week with Jeff Clark and sat through the Team Velocity demo for their CMS, their websites, and everything that they've got going on. They've got a pretty solid strategy, bringing everything together, having it all under one roof.
Yeah.
The one thing about technology is that, at least this has been my experience with it, is that it is usually married to the era it gets originally developed in. So if you have a software that was made in 1983, using your year, Eric, and there might be one or two of those around, you end up with 1983 technology in 2020. Mm-hmm. So if you have a website CMS that was originally made in 1998, it's not designed to work with more modern technologies that have come out in 2010, 2012, 2019, 2020. So, yeah, that's why it happens.
And I'll tell you, like, out of all of the things that we have to do, some of which are fun and some of which are painful, switching website platforms is extremely painful to me. I will delay it if I can, but I pulled the trigger. I pulled the trigger on this new website as soon as I could, because I felt like it's different enough from everything else out there that it was worth giving it a shot to see if someone's figuring out a better widget.
Oh, good for you. Good luck on that.
Thanks.
Like you said, that's never fun.
Yeah.
Well, and of course you got to measure things, right? Make sure it's still working for you. So
yeah, and that's one of the things that's been really valuable with measuring like video engagement for us. Like, my only expectation going into this with FlowFound was providing a better customer experience, and I wasn't really sure how to measure that at first, and it was really, at the end of the day, it was about conversion, but it's always hard to isolate any single thing that is helping improve or negatively affect a conversion, because we're always a number of things are always variably changing the situation, the customer, the time of the day, of the week, and the weather, and everything else. But we always stare out the window wondering, why our week is slow. But Nick's put together really good reporting, and I think over time it's really developed into something that I can look at quickly, because we get inundated with reporting, but I can look at quickly and see that like I feel good about the investment that we make every month to have this on our websites because of the engagement that we see, the percentage of people that end up purchasing from us. We use Clairvoy, so we're able to do some sales influence that maybe isn't directly attributable through digital. I'm sure you guys are familiar with them. And so seeing the influence that the people that engage with these videos that ultimately end up buying a car from us versus those that don't, it's just a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you measure the effectiveness of adding the video and VR to the websites, but sounds like you pretty much answered it.
You got to think maybe, when you're looking at a video of a specific vehicle, or even down to a model level, you don't need a whole lot of views to figure out whether that's successful or not. More like, I would think playthroughs would be a bigger measurement if you can track that.
Yeah, I don't know that we do track that. And Nick could probably speak better to that. I don't personally track that on our side. Again, for me, there's a lot of value in having that content across the models. The individual, like VIN specific videos themselves, we utilize a different product and method to capture those. And we find that those are mostly effective with one-to-one communication with a guest that has already engaged with us. So that then we're actually, we're answering specific questions, again, in a way that confirms, like, I'm not just telling you this over the phone, like I'm showing you this, that there's a scratch here, or this is the color of the seats, or whatever it is. And we're finding that VIN specific video type is more effective for the one-to-one rather than necessarily the marketing side of it.
Yeah, because I want to clarify on your website, you utilize Nick's product, which is the VR sitting in the car. You almost feel like you're in the car, especially if you're going to use your VR goggles on your mobile phone. But then you also have your videos.
You do not need any goggles anymore. There's no hardware required. It's straight on.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for stepping in. But then you've also got your videos which are pretty much, at least from what I saw, is the swiping images. Which we even use here. I've been using UnityWorks for years.
Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about the voiceovers, and for the longest time I would write my own descriptions of those vehicles, and they would read those descriptions as the video voiceover. Unfortunately, I think they got rid of that service, so they still do a better job than with some of the other services out there when it comes down to different options and stuff included on the car. But still, I want to clarify, because you've got a couple different video services going on. You've got Nick's product. You said another video. I guess it's the swiping images, right?
Yeah.
Who do you utilize for that? It looked like a dealer.com product.
It's either dealer.com or photo providers doing it. Okay. But I would say the biggest difference between those two is that with Nick's product, we're actually marketing that. Like, we're pushing that out. The other is just there for people that would rather look at the pictures that way than swipe right. And that's really, I almost see it as it's insignificant enough to actually market in any way. Whereas the VR test drive is something, we have AdWords campaigns behind it. We push it out socially. There's a call to actions on our website to try to draw people into either the landing page or to, look at the videos themselves. So there's a number of things. And some of these things are ideas that Nick brought to us over the time that we've worked together. Like we've experimented with a lot of different ways to try to drive engagement on this. And that's what I've enjoyed working with someone like him and like FlowFound, because it's not just like, hey, thanks for buying our product and going through our training webinar, and we'll check in and we'll send you a report every month. You'll definitely get our bill, and good luck. And we hope you sell a lot of cars. It's a constant dialogue that we have, that he's always chasing me down, trying to nail me down with a new idea for us to execute on. And I love that. I love it.
Where do you find most people engaged with the VR videos? And Nick, maybe
can
you
we
can speak to that as
see
well.
a VR video so maybe everyone can get on the same page with what they look like, and then come back to that question?
Alex,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
You're allowed to say no.
Yeah, let me see if I can get that on my phone here, and I'm going to hold it up, and then I'll probably switch to desktop. But if you're able to see this here, are you able to see that? I lost my
Yep.
video somewhere. There we go.
Yeah, we can
Yeah,
see
let
it.
me make you the whole thing.
So you can actually turn this with your finger to look, or you can turn the device itself to be able to look at different dimensions. So what I'll do here is I'll actually share my screen.
Yeah, that's a cool experience on the phone, man.
So let me share my screen that you should see here momentarily. And then you should be seeing a Lexus right now.
Yep.
There you
So,
go.
for example, a lot of them can kind of show you this. They're guiding you through. You've got the salesperson there. But in our instance, if I want to look out the front, I can actually physically move that out of the front. And then, they're talking about the blind spot monitoring. I can actually see a graphical representation that's blown up as it's going. So as soon as I hit play, that's going to play directly through here. And while it's a guided experience, I can take control in areas that I want. And you're seeing here that in the blind spot, this is a salesperson one.
Yeah, how do you get the video out there like that?
Very carefully.
Is that another car driving behind? And
No, it's cool to watch them set up, though. It's really neat.
I bet.
Yeah, we really see it as an exclusive way to transport people into the vehicle at a time where they're not as sure about the store. But I think really the value there is that you can highlight some of those specifications in a lot of things. You can show photos, you can show videos, but only with this 360-degree kind of virtual reality content, you can get a guided tour where you can stop it and actually look around at the stitching or really explore it. I mean, it's fun to watch people play with it because it's the same delighted expression I think I got when I sold my first car, or maybe when I bought it. I didn't buy a very good one for the first one, but it's really fun to watch people do that.
Eric, how do you get this implemented at the dealership? Like, what type of process have you had to build around this? And is it time consuming or is it quick? Any type of limitations that go along with it?
Well, I would say the only limitation that we've had so far is our fault, and that's for my Porsche dealership. We sell our cars so quickly that I don't have the models that I need for him to shoot. So we're trying to figure out how to work around that. Maybe going directly to the factory or to their headquarters in Atlanta to try to see if we can utilize some of their own inventory there, or get him to one of the driving events that we host, which Nick, I just found out our next one's in New Jersey, coming up in about a month.
Awesome.
But anyway, that's been the difficult one. But other than that, like the video example that we just saw, I know that guy. That's our technology specialist here at Johnson Lexus of Raleigh. His name's Clyde Weed. Thank you, Clyde. And so we just chose someone that's very knowledgeable, whether it's one of our sales associates or someone like that that's a technology or delivery specialist that can speak and it's willing to be on camera, and it's that can speak eloquently enough to describe the things. And that's it. And then I tell them, all right, well, they're going to be here whatever day it is, and we pay for the guys to come down and do the shots. It usually takes a day or two, and then they take them back and edit them and help them, help us get them pushed up to the site when they're done. So it's almost nothing for us, really.
What happens if you're doing a video on a particular car that has, especially with a Porsche, that has, several different options that maybe another one doesn't have, do you have to redo a whole new video for that vehicle, or do you just stick to maybe just all the standard equipment? How do you deal with that?
Well, usually we try to select a model that is fairly well equipped. It may not be like the 80% build for that model, which nothing in Porsche is 80%, but it may not be the most popular build, but it's the most well equipped, so that we can show as many features as possible. And again, we're not trying necessarily to go too model or trim specific. It's more like let's pick the sexy one and shoot it and talk about all its features, and then from there, again, hopefully if someone maybe was only going to intend on coming in on a lower level model, some of these features that we show them on a higher end model may entice them to want to upgrade their choice.
Back to my question before we were able to show an example of the VR. Where do you find most people are engaging with this? Are they coming from the website and they're clicking on the button? You say you use it maybe in some one-to-one communication. You also touched on you use it within your paid search or maybe within your social advertising. Where do you find most people engaging with it?
Social's been pretty interesting to see. I think it's very experimental for us in how we're trying to create traffic through that. But I think there's a lot of opportunity there for us to build more engagement. The Google campaigns have worked very well. We found that, and this was even pre-COVID, a lot of people were searching for like online test drive or VR test drive type keywords. And again, that's something that Nick and I together like kind of did some research on, and he shared some information with me and said, hey, like it would be a good idea for us to build some campaigns around these types of searches. Those have performed well. Google posts on our Google My Business page have done well.
Okay.
For the amount of people that obviously the eyeballs are on it, but the engagement on those have done well too, to drive traffic to the landing page on our site with all of the videos.
Where do you place those in the Google My Business? You do it under like a separate, I guess what they got, sort of like a blog post or a featured post.
Yeah, it says little post things. I think they call them Google posts or something. I don't know. They're changing the name of everything all the time. But you do it within the Google My Business platform, and we're usually putting something out there. Like when we started, when the pandemic started, and we're trying to kind of ramp back or just stay open. We were pushing out, our first responder and essential worker discounts and pickup and delivery offers and things like that. Google My Business is, we know from our call tracking and everything else that's the money out there. I mean, it's got a lot of people just stop there, especially on mobile. So wherever they go from there, that you've got to land them in the right place.
Yeah, it's definitely vital.
Just watching one of your videos yesterday. You've got one of your guys is no coward. Was demonstrating how the brake assist actually works.
Oh, I know.
It's like, wow.
Yeah. They've done it more times than I've seen it done, because every time I see somebody do that, it freaks me out.
Yep, but they're pretty cool. I would advise anyone who is interested in seeing how these things work to go and take a look at it. The display that we got through Skype, through eCam into Facebook, I think was not as nice as it would look when you look at it on a dealer's website.
No, it's
definitely good.
Well, and especially on your phone, because as you move the phone, the whole picture moves along with you. Whereas if you're on desktop, you're using your mouse to move everything around. Yeah, it's almost two different experiences. Wouldn't you say, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. There's different adoption, different types of use behind it.
Yeah, that's slick. So, post or not post, but before the pandemic, you had a certain amount of views, people engaging, and then during this, past 3 or 4 months, you're seeing an actual spike in people utilizing the VR videos.
Yeah, we've seen a huge uptick, and really, I'll tell you guys, be honest with you. I mean, some of our areas that we're located in, haven't been great and aren't going super great right now. And I have been shocked with how many people are buying cars. Some of our lots, we're starting to get some inventory back in, but everyone's had the same problem. I mean, I've talked to my friends at the Ford store, the Chevy store, and everywhere else. We've all had this problem, but it's shocking to me. And it's exciting too, because, the manufacturer stepped up, but people are shopping, and they were shopping in late March and early April. I mean, we could see so much activity, and yeah, the video views went way up. We weren't getting a ton of leads, but we knew it was just a matter of time that we would start getting some inquiries on this, and that's what proved out. So it's been good. I would say that today it's more important than ever, and I think we're at a crossroads in terms of where the technology is for the cars, because people whose loan is maybe finally paid off, or even people that leased a car 3 years ago, there's a lot of new stuff out on these cars that they may have never heard of. And by trying to educate them on these features, it's really helped us try to acquire some inventory as well, from whether it's an early lease turn in, or it's just trying to, buy cars out of the service lane or whatever. But we're really trying to use these tools to help educate people as to why they should upgrade because of the additional safety and performance features that these cars have on them, that even some of them from a few years ago.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned earlier being able to, I guess, track a sale and be able to see that customer that purchased the car was spending X amount of time or engaged with the VR solution. How are you tracking that?
Some of it is with Nick's tracking. I don't know if he has any reporting available, and then it's some of it is just the Clairvoy, Clairvoy, and I don't want to get sidetrack on them, but they are really able to help us identify a lot of walk-in showroom traffic that would be attributed as a drive-by or lot up or whatever in eLead in our CRM. And so, I always complain about how so much of our reporting in my CRM would be driving by or location or all that garbage that I can't do anything with that. And Clairvoy's helped me match that up because a lot of, again, we all know a lot of people just don't submit a lead or a chat or any of those because there's 27 calls to action, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to get in the car and drive over there and see if the car's there,
That's so still amazing how many people still do that, of course.
Oh, yeah, it is. So that's been the biggest thing, is like being able to have that layered into the reporting from any of our sources to really tell us what's really happening, because the reporting is only what's trackable, but there's a lot of activity that happens that just isn't trackable through the typical reporting.
Makes sense. Nick, maybe if you got something that you can show us, what type of reporting are you able to produce for your dealerships?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I can definitely share something, but we try to keep it pretty simple. Part of it, I'm just pulling something up right now. We show plays, of course, and then we show leads. So that's direct leads, and then it's attributed leads.
So if someone converts on the VDP or the SRP and they engage with the VR video, you're able to track that back.
Yeah, so I think for a lot of, even I'll pull it back to just 360 terms. Like everybody has a 360 product right now. I think in a lot of cases, 360 is used to describe a suite of products, as in I have a bunch of stuff you can use. But where we focused was more on 360-degree things, or virtual reality, where you can kind of explore it. So knowing that this was going to be more experience-based, we also understood that, at least when I was on the dealer side, really any marketing has to go beyond my cost of merchandising to get somebody into my store, and you have to prove it. So, with Google Ads, they give you a number, but they don't tell you who it is. so you're not really sure exactly how to tie that. So we wanted to avoid that as a video platform. So what makes us a little bit different is we show plays and percentage watched and which pages and models, but then we take it a step further and say, did the person immediately convert after watching the video, which we take full credit for, or did they watch one of our video experiences, view some specials, look up some cars, and then convert, which we call an attributed lead. And then at the end of the month, we just give you the list of those leads and then can match it to your CRM, or if we don't have access, of course, you can.
What percentage, and back to you, Eric, on this one, what percentage of your people that are buying vehicles are engaging with the video? And you can either break it down by, full sales on average, or just, I guess, internet sales per se.
That's a good question. So it definitely varies by brand to a degree.
I figured it would.
Within the brand by model. So we've seen situations where we've seen as much as a 40% increase in sales conversion over people that have viewed a 360 video on a specific model versus those that didn't over a period of the month, for instance. Okay. Nick, you may remember, I seem to think that was a Subaru Outback statistic, but it could have been at Hyundai. I don't remember which store it was at. But it was one of those where I was like, well, damn, that's strong. Because I think oftentimes it's in the 20s.
Yeah, it hovers between 20 to 30, depending on the manufacturer.
Yeah, but sometimes we'll see something as much as 40%. And so, again, with all the stuff that we're trying to do on our website, how is that not a no-brainer?
Yeah. Nick, what do you see a manufacturer? Could you break it out as like, the Porsche buyer is more engaged with the VR, or the Honda buyer? Have you tracked any of that, and would it even make sense to track that for any reason?
Yeah, I think I don't know that it's brand specific. It's probably brand plus market specific. So There are some that it's pretty variable, but I would say as you look at things like conversion rate, that's what remains very constant. Of people that took a test drive will convert at between 20 to 30%. If the store doesn't support it with marketing. And then, as Eric mentioned, when you put it into your marketing and that was intentionally capturing that shopper, then it starts to rise from 30 to 40.
Makes sense.
But also think with a brand like Porsche, where you're typically selling that across the country, it's based on what car you have in stock and that kind of thing, that, having something like this and having it that it could appeal to many different marketplaces would be worth it.
Well, I'll be honest with you. It's actually, it's been a bit of a challenge because Porsche, it's kind of, we kind of know at the beginning of the year how many cars we're going to get for the most part.
Yeah.
And if we sell we're a big 911 store, and have been for years, a lot of the high end stuff. And, you can't sell that stuff out of your market or you don't get another one back. And so we have to be selective on how far out we can go sometimes, just with limited inventory. But
yeah, they're pretty strict around that.
Well, yeah, and there's been some other questions from the audience. Actually, somebody who's pretty close to you at Checkered Flag. Was wondering if you've had more success with some other forms of video too, whether some branding videos or offers and videos have also been working for you.
Yeah, we have. We don't do TV ads at all. And haven't, the last TV ad I ran was in 2015 for 1 month. It just doesn't work for us, in my opinion.
What about OTT? And Nick, have you had any dealerships maybe use the experience that the consumer can get with your VR product in some OTT?
Yeah, I have some killer case studies around what that might look like and how it works. One is actually with a top 50 Ford store that we were going to share some stats today on. So yes.
Cool.
Yeah. I love OTT. I think that's definitely a game changer way to advertise. we just haven't figured out the right way to do it yet in terms of the message that we want to put out there. Because if you're not regularly doing TV, and then all of a sudden, you start showing up, we're not necessarily very offer driven. A lot of that we feel like is happening on a tier 2 level. We're more like a why buy here, and really try to parlay our reputation. And so I am running some stuff at some stores right now that is OTT focused. And it is exactly that. It is reputation focused. There's no offer. There's no sale event or anything like that. But it's fairly new. It was something that I actually signed up at NADA and then came home and everything shut down. So we're really just getting going now. Because we haven't really reestablished most of our budgets yet. We're still kind of slow rolling it for now and not trying to be too aggressive in the marketplace. Our approach has been from the very beginning when this whole thing started was not how do we continue to sell cars, but is how can we help our customers. And so we've created a very detailed process we had everyone calling our customers. We made tens of thousands of phone calls, and it was just simply, hey, we're here. We just wanted to call and check on you and see how you're doing, see if we can do anything to help you if you need anything. But just know, like, we're here and we're open, and, let us know if we can help you in any way. And it was crazy, the response that we got from that. And it's really what kept us able to maintain 100% employment throughout this whole thing, because we were trying to find everything possible to keep our service base filled. And this allowed us to schedule a ton of service appointments because we were like, look, you don't want to come out of your house. And we literally had people that would throw their keys out the window to us to pick their car up and take it and get it serviced. And we had everybody under every job description in the company calling customers, and then everybody riding around picking up cars. And so we're continuing to build that out into a permanent. We've been doing pickup and delivery for 20 years, but we don't advertise it necessarily. So we're building that out because it's part of business now. It's part of being a dealer now moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it was different for us. Well, it wasn't different for us coming from a Mercedes-Benz store. It's like this is just our normal daily routine.
Yeah.
Nick, why don't you dive into some of those numbers and reports that you were going to show us earlier?
Yeah, that was actually a perfect segue. So I'll share my screen here again. And then let me know once you can see a red one.
We see it.
All right, perfect. So the first thing, you had asked, what engagement differences have we seen? I like to frame this around how has car shoppers changed their behavior since the pandemic. So you'll see here, this is kind of where things started reopening. And there was a massive spike, almost 4 times more for this Ford dealer specifically. And we're seeing this pretty consistently across everything else. So this is just people that will click take a virtual test drive or take a virtual reality test drive. As we've compared that year over year, that's remained very constant. To the checkered flag question, I think this might actually help, and it's one of my favorite ways to do this, which is Facebook is a very low-cost way to test your videos. Mm-hmm. So you can put all of those video variations and very quickly see what will people actually click on, and then what are they most likely to convert on and compare them. So this was one of the top 10 Lexus stores that we work with, and they've done monthly offers. We were running over 320 monthly campaigns across their stores. So we've tested this really extensively, but they found that their monthly offers, their best ones, were the top performer. So no surprise, the things that have always worked still work today. The part that was surprising was virtual test drives was the best converting after that. And we've begun to see this across all marketing, and this is something that we began reporting on before COVID. The only difference is now more traffic is happening naturally or for free versus having to spend money to get them there. So this is an example of what that Facebook could look like for Lexus, but it actually beat generic Y-Buys, monthly offers, service, coronavirus, And at the time, there was the 90-day deferrals.
I see that's, I guess, a quick screenshot of the example of one of the ads where you jump into the VR experience right there on the mobile phone. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, some great numbers.
Another is across paid search. So this is really interesting. This is directly out of Google Ads interface, simplified just for the sake of presentation. But we've added this as a site link extension, which doesn't cost anything. And this isn't even unique to us. If you've got a virtual test drive content that you've invested in and, to Erick's point, is personalized and effective at delivering the message you want to, you can put this into any paid search campaign for free, and it'll outperform hours and directions, specials, and often schedule service in almost every instance. So
Wow.
I'd say if you're a dealer and invested in video, this is worth doing right now, regardless of whether or not you're working with us. So this is a live sample. Bronze is one of our best that's put it in everywhere. We also did this with one of the top certified Infinity stores, where we had certified content with, where we changed most of their ad copy to be about the experience versus their lease offers. And they actually found that 3 times better engagement came from that, which I think is interesting if you've got some luxury or near luxury brands. And then in terms of search optimization, if you look for Lexus Virtual Test Drive, I think this is kind of what Erick was talking about too, is we've been very intentional about building out content and integrating it across everything. As we've looked, I think this is really helpful as you start to get customer feedback around what services they want. The services they're requesting or that you're executing around the pandemic, probably areas you want to build content. And as we look at virtual test drives, this is something that ultimately doesn't require a change in process. It's plug and play. It doesn't require anybody else to do anything, but it really builds value behind the search algorithms because Google loves video, Google owns YouTube. That all counts toward that. And when you're building content around the things they're searching for or the services they're using, that becomes really powerful both locally, regionally, and in this case, nationally.
That's great. So great, yeah. Taking some notes here.
We've got some questions coming in from the audience again. So Bill Playford is wondering if the videos can be broken up in an evergreen way so that so maybe you want to send somebody a video about Bluetooth specifically or navigation specifically. Can that be done?
Yeah, we've already broken all that out, but we found that for most internet teams, it was too big of a lift for them to keep track of it, even when it was integrated in the CRM. So what we've done instead is we focused on dynamically generating that on the page itself. So for example, if most dealers know that building model and model comparison pages is important, our player, once you've placed the script, dynamically will generate the relevant things behind that on that page. So you definitely can do that, but we found it's easier if it's in the existing internet process versus adding another step that's new.
Well, and Erick, I'll throw this one to you from Chris Leslie. Do you care about capturing an internet lead or getting the video watched?
Great question. Yeah, what matters more?
I think my answer based on the number of people that just walk in the store without submitting a lead, I'd rather them. Man, that's a tough question, Chris. At the end of the day, all of this is to generate an opportunity to have a conversation with someone that you might be able to do business with, and that's ultimately a lead. So I feel like that has to be my answer, but I don't count leads very much, or I don't get bogged down with leads. It's about engagement. And ultimately at the end of the day, my sales teams have to close the sales. And so I'm measured by their results. So if I can get someone in the door, whether that's a lead or a walk-in or whatever, I believe that this video will accomplish that. I lead's my answer.
No, I think you're going down the right track. That's, again, we were talking about this earlier. We get so focused on the conversion and acquiring that lead, but the reality is only a certain percentage of people are ever going to fill out that form. So we get so focused on getting that customer to fill out the form so we can get that lead into the CRM. And meanwhile, we're forgetting about the other 90, 85% of consumers that are never going to fill out that form. Mm-hmm. So what can we do to make sure that those customers become engaged, and they're so engaged and they're enjoying the process on your website so much that they're going to just come on into the dealership, and you were saying earlier, just, how can we make our sites a little bit lighter? How can we maybe remove, some of all these call to actions and scripts, and especially on the mobile side. To me, it just makes all the sense in the world. I've done the same thing and not really focus on lead conversion. I mean, we can only handle so many leads a month here anyways. I focus more on just, can I give that customer such a great experience that they're just encouraged to come into the dealership? Because we all know most of the time once we get the customer into the dealership, they're going to have a great experience with us, and we got the highest probability to close the sale at that point.
Here's a way I would maybe word it is when you go to a decent restaurant, you want your water filled before you need to ask to have it filled. You want your napkin placed appropriately without having to ask for another napkin. There's a number of things that you want to be provided an experience and a service that is almost predictive to your needs without you just expressing what your needs might be. So if someone is on my website, they might not need a car, but they're thinking about a car. And so if I can provide them if I can fill their glass of water, being in this case, answer questions that they might not know they have questions of yet, but if I can start creating content and things for them that they can be like, oh, I didn't know that cars had this or did that, or that this car was like this, then to me that's providing a superior experience in the restaurant, and ultimately hopefully that results in a restaurant a big tip, and for us it's a visit or a lead.
Mm-hmm. Or a car sale, customer walking in.
Yeah.
Well, guys,
would you agree with that, Nick?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the true values of 360-degree/VR video, is that it puts you right in there and highlights the things you don't get to try in real life. Collision avoidance, lane departure, the blind spot monitoring is an obvious thing, so you don't miss it. So you get to really experience that. It gives you the right questions, which is not what does it cost and do you have it. People know how to do that already. Our goal with video and with these experiences is to take you past that and get you into the store. Put down the phone, get off the couch, come visit.
Well, with VR, pick up the phone and experience it. No, that's great. If someone wanted to go through one of your VR experiences, how would they go about doing that? You have examples on the website. Would you encourage them to visit your website? What is your URL? Would you encourage them to visit your website on their mobile phone so they can sort of get a taste of this?
Our website's flowfound.com, but I would encourage you to check out Johnson's sites. Johnson Lexus, I think Durham is flagship.
Eric doesn't want you inflating his traffic.
It'll be a mystery
all these...
I'm going to take full credit. But no, I think, looking at this, there's a lot of cool, shiny objects out there. I would love for them to instead look at this in practice on a dealer site where they know that it's working, so they know how it might work for them. So I would say look at it out there. We ultimately try to prove this through the case studies and partners we have.
So before we wrap up here, where do you see this going, Nick? What do you envision in the next 3 to 4 years, or maybe just a year out? How do you see consumers here in the future engaging with VR?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm really grateful that we can be part of a solution for the industry. I started back in the first crash, 2007, 2008. Really didn't know what I was doing yet, but had a few good mentors along the way. As we've seen the adoption, as we've seen both the results from the consumer and what the dealer needs to be able to implement as they're looking to get more efficient, that's what I see is that drive to efficiency will include 360 video, our video content, and video in general, to be able to direct this new consumer within the existing sales process without having to change everything. But did that answer the question?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just, where do you see VR in the next 3 to 4 years? And you pretty much summed that up.
Yeah.
I guess I know what you want. You want to see more dealerships sign up with you and get VR on their websites.
Frankly, they should. We've definitely we're definitely glad we are. But I think that, and I don't want to go down a rant about digital retailing, but this whole pandemic thing has actually made it somewhat relevant. But the problem again goes back to you're putting what could potentially be a good experience onto a crappy dealership franchise website. So it's lipstick on a pig and trying to make it work. But I do see hopefully websites advancing some in the next few years, but I think the DR experience will too. And I could see what Nick does having an influence in the DR space.
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest challenge we hear is people aren't necessarily using it or using enough of it. And we've had some good, strong conversations with some of the larger partners around how does this integrate? How does this take it a step further? And then how do you market it? Because for digital retailing, you definitely know what that car is and what you are willing to pay, or at least the first listed price. I think you can market our product before you know those things. So you capture a customer earlier in the research process. And when that's tied into digital retailing, looking a year or two down the line, suddenly that becomes inherently valuable as they look at engagement and getting them through a process as stores begin to adopt it into their own.
You're going to have to figure out a way where when the consumer is doing a virtual test drive on your platform, they can pull it into the sold lane, and then that will open up the digital retailing experience, put them right in.
Yeah, absolutely. That and chat.
Alex, was there any more questions?
No, I think you guys have covered this extremely well, and look forward to doing another one with you all as this develops further.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I'm, Nick, you and I go way back.
We do.
Really far back, probably good 10 plus years.
Yeah.
And I know it's been exciting to watch you, working with AMSI and opening up your own agency and latching onto this VR thing. I think, as far as I know, you're the only service out there within the automotive sector for VR. Have you had any interest from any of the manufacturers?
Yes. I think for us, we've always been focused more on the dealer side. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the content we've built specifically with manufacturers, we've worked with Ford, with Porsche directly. And then in terms of the Shift programs or the internet brands or others, those are always interesting to us, but I think they're navigating their video programs right now.
Yeah, that's great.
You're on a couple of OEM lists, Nick, whether you know it or not. You're on Porsche and Volvo.
Yes, you're right.
We're talking about you guys, and then actually, Nick, his company was also recently discussed in an international version of the Lexus newsletter that was requested from Toyota Japan to be distributed to all Lexus and Toyota dealers in the world to discuss his product. So
I believe that was June, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in June. So he's being a little bit too humble, which is Nick's way, but
that's Nick's way.
The OEMs have their eyes on what he's doing too.
Well, that's exciting news, man. Congratulations on that, Nick.
Thank you.
Well, gentlemen, thanks, Eric. We really appreciate you taking some time out of your day at the dealership or in the office there and joining us and just going through everything and some of the processes that you've had to endure around video. And Nick, again, congratulations, man. This is great stuff.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting both of us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
You got it.
Till next week.
I guess we'll be back here next Friday.
Yep. As usual.
Sounds great.
All right.
See y'all gentlemen. Later. Enjoy your weekend.
All right. Thanks. See you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.